Good evening, Monadnock region, and welcome. This is GOMO Tonight, and thank you for coming along with us for yet another episode here in the Space Lounge of your only locally focused, weekly, comedy, thought-provoking podcast. I'm here with my co-hosts,
Zoe Roten-Heinsman.
And Sam Abbott.
And thank you guys. Wonderful to be here. Nice to see you again. It's really great to be here for our 14th episode. And those of you who were along for the ride in episode 13, may remember, or excuse me, episode 12, I believe it was. So 2 episodes ago, right?
The fashion episode.
Yeah, the fashion
Yes.
episode. Yes.
That's
Yeah,
12.
sorry. So we're recording this for the record on the 27th. This is Thursday, the 27th. We just released episode 13 earlier today. Last week, we released episode 12, which focused heavily on winter fashion, in which I explained to people that, your fleece pullovers are pajamas, and, I did say throw away your North Face, but I didn't say throw away your fleece pullovers, but just that they're pajamas. Like that's not an outfit. Like don't do that in public, right? So those who may remember that may notice what I have on this evening. I am indeed I am dressed for warmth and not to look good.
Or bed.
Or bed. Exactly. And I did this on purpose just to kind of be a prick. But we did the reason that I'm dressed like this in the first. That's why I didn't change, because I could have changed if I wanted to, but I wanted to feel what it was like to be a real person of the Granite State, I guess. But no, we went. Zoe and I and our families and a couple other people went out to a field. And again, I obviously am not one to typically be going outside in this type of weather, but we brought our families out to a field. We're going to try to do this once a month and just look up at the stars. Not a lot of light pollution in this field. It's very nice. Great view of the sky. I hate the cold. It's very cold. It was like 15 degrees.
It was very cold.
Generally too cold for me. But I did. This is a circumstance where I did not dress to look good. I wore an ugly hat. I still got my 2 pairs of like really big socks on. I'm wearing long johns, which are just a hideous thing. I don't want those to be.
This is why you need camel hair tights.
Slightly
medieval.
What I have is I got my Lithuanian wool right here, and then I got like my long john, and I got my pullover here. And not only is this fleece, it is not like Land's End or North Face, for the record. It's actually London Fog, believe it or not. But it's got like a half an inch of this fake. This is not beaver pelts, for the record. It's got like half an inch of fake fur lining in this. So this is a garment that is too warm for anyone to wear. So I had it on out there. So yeah, so I am sweating balls in my house right now for this episode. I do have to say, don't wear this kind of thing for looks. I mean, I think I'm kind of pulling it off a little bit, but I'm not going to start doing this or anything. So just a thing. And so by the time people listen to this will have already happened, but we may or may not be getting a storm this weekend. The coast is definitely going to get a storm. Well, did you miss the whole storm thing?
No, like I keep thinking it's like settled, and then I realize that it's not settled. Like it is definitely still a may or may not.
No, right? Like Bill of the High Nelson forecast, like he thinks at the moment like 4 to 8 maybe. So I mean we're going to get some snow, but there was a time when it was like we're getting a minimum of a foot and maybe more than that, and that doesn't appear to be the case right now. But everybody keeps saying, "But it could change. But it could change." I inadvertently pissed off a WMUR weatherman.
Wow, that's exciting. That's an even more interesting. Who did Chris piss off this week than it usually is?
Yeah, I meant to bring that up. Where is this? It was I made nice with him though, because I wasn't actually trying to piss him off. It was 13 hours ago. WMUR posted their early snowfall forecast. It showed us in like the 6 to 12 range or something, right? And I just commented in all caps, "Stop changing the numbers. I need consistency." And Kevin Skarupa, who's apparently the weatherman, it's back to me. "This map hasn't changed once since we put it up yesterday. ... Was the caps lock really needed?" With 3 question marks.
Oh,
and
wow.
He got 34 reacts to that, by the way.
Holy
and I just wrote back. I was like, "Jesus, Kevin, I'm teasing."
I mean, you clearly struck a nerve with this guy.
Yeah, I'm like, bro, come on, why is the weatherman responding to this? Like, I'm clearly like, and granted, I know not everybody knows me, of course, but like, come on. If I saw that, I believe I would know that person was fucking around. That wrote that. But anyways, he wrote back. He's like, "It's tough to tell what people are thinking these days," like with a wink, And I was like, "Kevin, no shade meant toward you guys. I appreciate the forecasts." And actually, I didn't see this comment before now, but someone else named Jennifer chimed in and said, "You'd be surprised at the amount of poop emoji Kevin and the team take, particularly from angry viewers who like to spew hate, not to mention the misogynistic rants directed toward Haley." Well, I don't even know Haley. Definitely no beef towards Haley. I don't want to be patriarchal towards Haley. And I didn't mean to insult Kevin either. I would never yell at the weatherman. You know what I mean? Like, I understand. Like, I don't know. I've been around a while. Like, I know meteorology isn't like like you input this plus this equals this. Like, it's not that kind of science or whatever. I don't expect that from folks. I was just messing around. So sorry for striking a nerve, Kevin. I'm sure you get a lot of heat. Not intentional.
I thought you were gonna make a pun joke. Not intended. Pun not intended. Kevin the meteorologist gets a lot of heat
because the weather.
Like,
yeah, not intended, but I guess it was there. So for this week, our top story in the Monadnock region, and I do feel, and if you were, we've got a little live feed going on our each of our screens, monitoring the developing situation, actually. So if any of you happen to be on the Peterborough Facebook page on 127, 9:56 p.m. or so, you would remember that there was some news. There was some things going on, and as an introduction to this topic, which is fraught, I would like to read a poem that I found online earlier today, that was written by ConVal Senior Kayleigh Campbell. Like the latest fashion, like a spreading disease, the kids are strapping on their way to the classroom, getting weapons with the greatest of ease. The gangs stake their own campus locale, and if they catch you slipping, then it's all over, pal. If one guy's colors and the others don't mix, they're going to bash it up, bash it up, bash it up. Hey, man, you talking back to me? Take him out. You got to keep them separated. Hey, man, you disrespecting me? Take him out. You got to keep them separated. Hey, they don't mind. If you're under 18, you won't be doing any tie. I. Hey, come out and play.
Where the fuck did you just find that? What is this?
That is not actually, for the record, a poem from ConVal Senior Kayleigh Campbell, who, as far as I know, is imaginary. This is the song "Come Out and Play" by The Offspring.
I was like, F for plagiarism, Kayleigh.
That's what I was thinking too. She didn't write this.
but it describes the situation in a way. So it's so I'm not going to lie. It's not 100% clear what in God's name is going on over at the Kentucky Valley Regional High School over there, here in Peterborough. But we have a post here, and this is, as I understand it, the third post by this person, Rachel Hope, and the first of which she has deleted it for some reason. So that we're missing a lot of information by not having that first post. But I'll just read this most recent one. And this is from, within the last hour or so. So everyone has asked for proof on anything about my post today. I just got this sent to me. A gun was brought to CV ConVal at the last football game of the year. The school didn't do anything about it, and they said they would tell the public, but never did. Here is the comment that the person said to me on what happened in another message from someone else. And there's, I don't know, some kind of document pictured here, and she's got screenshots of messages. And then there's people saying like, no, it was an airsoft gun. That isn't what happened. But then there's other posts where like this overall. Oh wait, did she delete the second one too? That post is done.
She just deleted the other one too. Yeah.
Oh God!
All right.
So don't
breaking.
God.
Facebook post deletion.
It's a good thing we were able to record that. The
only one remaining, it's the classic delete all the shit that you say and regret on Peterborough Facebook group.
Oh wait, no, but I can still see the sorry about my post one.
That one's the only one still there. It's the apology.
Yeah. Yes, right.
Where she's apologizing for the initial post.
Right.
Correct.
That's the only one she left up.
Anyways,
let me guess. The only laughing face is. Oh, it's not you, Chris. I figured it would be you.
I didn't laugh. No. I won't, because no. I am very liberal with my laugh react, and I can be very mean about it. But this is like, I don't know enough about who is right here for me to stick my neck out with a laugh react yet. So I won't do it.
Yet.
And I gave this is where I give the wow react. This is a wow react situation where it's like, you're putting forward something big here, but so there's like multifaceted allegations here. It seems to be that the freshman class is apparently particularly vicious. I've heard them compared to those little dinosaurs that, like in Jurassic Park, that all swarm you and leap on you and take you down that way. Someone has said that recently.
No,
the littler ones. The littler ones. The ones that are like almost kind of cute, like, and then they
yeah.
Who's the actor? Who's that actor? He gets eaten by him in the Jeep by himself. So I think it's the first Jurassic Park. It's a fucking great actor. He's in a show I'm watching reluctantly with my wife. It's kind of funny. The show. What's the show called? Oh, it's the Startup show. You know the show Startup?
Oh,
It's got Watson from the Sherlock show. He's like the bad guy. That's what I'm talking about?
No.
Come on. You didn't watch Sherlock?
No.
With Benedict Cumberbatch? It's a fucking brilliant show. You didn't watch any of that?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
No, I never saw that.
Amazing. Well, in that show, Watson is this guy. Is kind of a shorter man, blonde hair. He's kind of the badass FBI agent in this show called Startup. And it's I don't know, it's pretty engaging. I'm enjoying it. Very suspenseful. But in any case, I'm losing it. Where was I going?
Who's the guy from Jurassic Park that's also in it? The guy from
Jurassic Park is also in it, yes. The guy that got eaten by the little dinosaurs. He wears glasses, bigger man.
Nedry?
I don't know about Nedry. That doesn't ring a bell.
No, but are you mixing him up? No, because I think you're mixing him up with the guy, because he's the guy. He does die from a slightly smaller dinosaur, but it's the venom spitting one.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah. That's that guy. That's Nedry. I forget his real name, but he's in Seinfeld. He's in a bunch of stuff.
He's in a bunch of stuff.
Back in those days.
He's always Nedry to me.
Yes.
It's his iconic role for.
Yes.
He
has that. He has some truly
Nedry.
Iconic lines.
Wayne Knight.
Wayne Knight. Yes, that's his name. Yes.
I've never heard his name before.
Wayne Knight.
Yeah.
No, I knew it, but I couldn't recall it.
He's a badass.
But
I like him. He's great in the show too. The new show I'm talking about. But
that's cool.
Anyway,
but
that's similar dinosaurs to the freshman class.
Maybe they will swarm you and spit venom on you. I don't know, but they supposedly they're vicious. They got guns. They're threatening people with guns. Somebody commented somebody got a shotgun put to their head.
But half of them may be airsoft guns.
Unknown. Well, there's other people chiming in, being like, Johnny's a good boy. You know, like, I mean, I'm exaggerating, but that is sort of the tone of a lot of the people. On the other hand, is like, you don't know who these people are. They're good kids. No, they're not exactly saying that. That's the tone. Is what I'm getting here. But there's definitely sides here, and that's why these posts keep getting deleted, because there's people pushing back. But there seems to be a lot of people who are like, yeah, no, this is real. That's what's going on. It's like, they're not coming right out and saying that they're like gangs or like drug gangs or anything like that, so much as they keep using the word bullying, that they're like, they're just like pushing people around. I don't know what that means. You know, I don't know. It's very non-specific. I've heard from somebody else earlier in the week that there was a kid with a gun in school and he punched a teacher, and another kid who got searched because they were trying to get his vapes. Hopefully they didn't get the idea from this program. That's probably what the schools are going to come after us next, because they're going to say that we're the ones who are causing the vaping. And that's another thing, is at the school, apparently, as I've been told, they're so concerned about vaping that they're like following kids into stalls, and like they're closing bathrooms if they can't like monitor them prison style or whatever, just to stop them. Guys, let them vape. They didn't close the fucking bathrooms for cigarettes back in the day. Like, you would get in trouble. Like, I'm not saying you were allowed to smoke cigarettes in there, but they would let the next guy come and take a piss. Like, they weren't gonna, like, I don't understand that logic. Like, someone was or could be vaping, and therefore no one can go to the bathroom. Not a good look, ConVal. You really probably shouldn't even be searching people looking for vapes. Like, it's vape. It's, who gives a shit? It's hard being a kid. Maybe they would be a little less violent if you let them vape. But anyways, the kid who didn't have a vape had a knife. So again, lesson here.
I mean, we were talking a little earlier about how old I am, and this will definitely date me. But back in my day, in my freshman year, we still had a smoker's table at my high school.
Wow. Oh, no shit!
Yeah.
Wow.
And then it was taken away. I mean, it was like you had to be 18 to smoke there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there were some 18-year-old seniors, and then they took that away. They were like, no, we can't do it.
ConVal has a thing, and you guys didn't go there, but in the cafeteria, there's like this glassed in sort of atrium that's outside, and it's in between the building, right? So it's walled in, but that was for smoking back in whatever the hell, I don't know not when I was there. I was there
like an airport smoking lounge, like glassed in,
like no roof, right? So you're outside, but its walls around, and it was glassed in on the cafeteria side, so it was like a little courtyard, I guess, like a pea stone fucking courtyard or something. And that was
to be clear. Our smoker's table was outdoors. It was not like in the cafeteria.
I was picturing it in the cafeteria.
It was a picnic table.
Yeah. Wow.
My high school is in South Carolina, so there's no like winter to deal with here. So no, it was an outside. Sure. That was so clear in my mind, but I just realized that's not a thing.
not necessarily clear up in the frigid north here. Massachusetts, I think, may have done away with on school premises smoking a little bit earlier than both New Hampshire and South Carolina, I'm guessing.
Probably.
My dad always talks about how when he was in high school, they just had to bring a note from their parents that said that they could smoke, and that it wasn't like no one could get the note. Like like the parents would sign the note. Like, it was cool. Like, everyone's just like, yeah, sure, whatever. Everybody smokes, whatever. And I do recall this in 1993 when I was ending third grade, and we took a tour of the middle school because the middle school began in 4th grade for a few years. They changed that in the middle of my tenure there, but that's another story for another day. But we were going to go to middle school the next year, and we took a tour of the school, and in one of the stairwells there was a sign for what looked like a janitor's. I think, in fact, I worked at that school later on, and so that was definitely a janitor's closet of some kind. But the sign said like designated smoking area, like in this room. And when I came to the school later in 1993, it was gone. And that was the last I ever saw anything, at least in my home district, that permitted smoking on campus. When I was in high school, we had teachers that not many, they were old, but there were teachers that we knew smoked. But I think that the assumption was always that they had to go like in their car.
Yeah, same thing. Yep, I remember him. I remember him well, and I hated him, and he hated me, and he was the guy everybody knew he smoked. And then I later became friends with him as an adult. He's a nice man. Unrelated to the other friend I mentioned earlier, who was also a teacher of mine in high school before we got on the show.
Yes,
but yeah, the smoking teacher. You always knew. You're like, motherfucker, I know you smoke. You go out on the break, sit in your truck, and smoke cigarettes. And maybe I did too at the time, and that's why I was a little hot about it. So I would have to sneak out back, hide around. It was like such a high, like sneaking out of the school. It was so scary, you know?
Oh yeah.
It was like sneaking out of fucking Auschwitz. It's like they're going to grab me and string me up or something, you know? And then you got to make the sneak back in after, right? So you got like a pencil holding the door open or something, you know what I mean? And you like choke down your cigarette, you know, and then like try to spray some cologne on or something, or eat some bubble gum, you know, and then try to sneak back in all nonchalant, like you weren't just out underneath the stairs out the back door. It was hell, man. High school was rough. Man.
I am glad that I only started smoking cigarettes at the very end of high school. I was literally 18 years old, and I had always kind of wanted to smoke. You know, it was a goal of mine, and I was working at the Pheasant Lane Mall at Walden Books, and I had several coworkers who smoked, and I was like, well, I just turned 18. And so I went down to Hudson News, if you guys remember those.
They're still around, I think.
I don't remember them outside of airports, but
right. That's where they are.
Yeah, they used to have them in the mall. Yeah, that's where they still are. Yeah, they're not in the mall anymore. I was just at Pheasant Lane Mall the other night, and I loved it. And there's no more Hudson News. Yeah, the more I go, that's twice in the last 6 months or so that I've been to the mall, and actually 3 if you count the Monmouth Mall that I went to in New Jersey.
Okay.
I'm in favor. We'll have to talk about that in another episode, but I'm really digging the mall. Anyway, it's given me hope. It's given me a little. It makes me feel warm inside. But we should actually talk about the mall, but not now. I went down to Hudson News, and I bought a pack of Dejarum Splash cloves. They had a surfer on them, and
nice.
Like went outside and had a butt, and oh my God, was that great! But it was, and again, hopefully no kids listen to this, but I don't care. It's actually, really, kids. People don't like to tell you this, but this is why I quit when I quit. The mutations that happen to your cells that cause lung cancer primarily happen in people who smoke after the age of 45, because it's as part of the aging process, your cells mutate more easily. That's how you die in the end of something. And smoking cigarettes after 45, but the incidence of lung cancer in people who quit before they turn 45 is very low, extremely low. So if you want to try smoking butts, there was a New York Times story about how youngsters are beginning to smoke again, and it's like it's I mean, I could have predicted this. I'm sure I've said things along these lines. It's a transgressive thing. They're reacting to the safety culture by smoking, which fucking good. I really do. I sincerely, I'm not even joking. I encourage that. push back against that. You're young. You should not be enmeshed in a bubble wrap of safety. You shouldn't want that. You should want to take risks and be dangerous. You're young. You can get away with it when probably they are called risks for a reason. I'm not, you can't hold me liable for this. I'm not guaranteeing I'm not guaranteeing your safety. That's the point is if you can't kind of put yourself out there and do some things while you're young and your safety is not guaranteed, you're going to get old when you can't really get away with it. Okay. Mm-hmm. But nicotine was really good for me. I was an angry, as I grew older in high school, I became a really angsty teenager, and marijuana and nicotine were the only things that alleviated that. And they were very, I would have been much less, I was a lot angrier before I started the cigarettes, and I was less angry after. But I never, because my mother has a nose where she just, I could smoke that cigarette at work and go home hours later, and she'd be like, why do you smell like cigarettes? I wasn't even smoking a regular cigarette. I was smoking a fancy smelling clove. And she's like, I might as well have been smoking a Marlboro Red 5 minutes before walking in the door. My mother would know, and she was not a person who was going to write me a note. Let me tell you, she was not okay with this. So I had to avoid getting caught. And so I minimally smoked. So I never, in that 3 months before I graduated, I never smoked enough that I needed it. I could get through the school day, and I'm glad about that because again, and not to say that, especially in those days, I wasn't running out the door and sneaking out, but I liked it. It was a thrill, and it was really dangerous to do. And there was a great chance of you getting caught. And I wouldn't have wanted to have to take that risk daily. I wanted to save it for when I was, I don't know, going out to breakfast at Parker's Maple Barn, or, going to somebody's house, probably to smoke weed, something worth it, But anyways, ease off the kids with the vaping. It's not the end of the world. God almighty. Because they're going to spite you by turning to cigarettes. And I know you don't want that. I think it's healthy, but you don't want that. So whatever.
But what about
these kids are violent. And,
yeah, turn to cigarettes or guns is
right.
What's happening.
Well, exactly. Honestly, we should be trying to alleviate it for these kids. Clearly, there's a lot of tension, and it's unsurprising because I have been saying this so often for a while now that I am getting sick of hearing myself say this, but I have felt very strongly that the conditions of the last couple of years make it inevitable for people to be for there to be slightly more fights, for people to be a little bit more willing to jump to, if not physical violence, certainly verbal violence. People are really at the end of their rope. And I do think that includes kids who honestly kind of tend to be at the end of their rope anyway, because that's just, God, I am so glad I don't have those hormones running through me, because those things really do. I mean, we know this in many different ways, whether it's the aging process as opposed to, puberty at the beginning, whether it's anabolic steroids, even whether it's, if you're prescribed steroids for, if there's a different kind of steroid, whatever, they have a very uncanny, I take prednisone. I hate taking prednisone because it distorts my brain and makes me into a just absolute wretch. It turns me into an awful person. Just a little pinch of prednisone changes my whole personality.
Little pinch of roid rage.
Yeah. Steroids, which are synthetic hormones, do this to people. Yeah. And looking back again, basically up until I was 25, I was like, wow, you got a handicap. Your brain is producing chemicals that naturally, especially, and this is not intended to be some kind of genderist comment or whatever, but especially the hormones of young males, which is predominantly high levels of testosterone. It's and I, as I get older, like I'm looking into ways, legal and otherwise, to like make sure that I maintain a healthy level of testosterone, because that postpones the aging process for real. Can be a little dangerous, but it does do that. But I am so glad that I don't have those kind of levels, because that was a tricky time. You kind of, it's hard to be clear headed when your brain is full of that shit. And there's nothing you can do. You can't, you just got to go through it. So I don't know what's going on at ConVal. I applaud a guy named Scott Thompson, race car driver, who, for quite correctly pointing out, I'm going to read his comment. I'll paraphrase it a little bit. Saying, sounds like things have increased a bit since I went there, but this sort of thing, for the most part, has always happened. The gun thing is fairly new, but the real question is this: why is it happening? And I can tell you the answer isn't movies and video games, like some people believe. Yeah. Yes. Yes. On both counts. The real question is, why is it happening? A lot of directions we could go here. This is an affluent community. That's not to say that everyone is wealthy, but it is does not have the kind of prevalent economic disadvantages that tend to produce crime, of violent crime, even in the youth. Drugs, yes, rich kids do drugs a lot. That's normal. But the violence, the guns and all that stuff, it's a little odd. And we can, but there's also just the fundamental questions of, like, well, why are kids anywhere feeling this way? Which I feel is always the correct question to ask after a school shooting. It's even in my days as like a card carrying Democrat, I just never believed that the guns caused that. That blaming guns, I have always felt, is avoidance of looking at the real problem, which is nuanced and difficult and nebulous and difficult to answer. Like, well, why are people so mad? In my opinion, it's the same reason that so many people turn to opiates, because conditions are fairly hopeless, and hopelessness, any drug derived from opium, in terms of its immediate effects on you, these are good drugs for the condition of hopelessness, because they make you feel as though, and I speak from some experience, they make you feel as though the hopelessness isn't a problem. You feel warm and fuzzy, you get a big hug. And so that's one way. And then another, again, these are not good responses. I don't endorse these responses. Cigarettes are okay. Heroin and gun violence, try to stay away from. But another realistic and potential response to hopelessness is violence, and it's lashing out, because a lot of times school shootings and mass killings in general have a very random, at least some component of randomness to it. It's not a vendetta against particular people. It's a vendetta against all this, and that's where the rage comes from and gets directed towards. Yeah, those are the questions. Why do people feel this way, and what do you do about that? Because when we were kids, and I started high school in the late 90s and ended it in the early 2000s. That was the time period when, believe it or not, people always think things are getting worse, but they're not. The school shootings actually peaked in the 90s. And and a lot of the most dramatic ones happened in the 90s. Not all of them, certainly, but a lot of them. And that was the big thing that people said back then. I'm sure you guys remember, and many of the listeners remember, that it was the Matrix, because of the guns and the Marilyn Manson, the music, and violent video games, everything from Doom to Grand Theft Auto. And these were the things that caused people to do violence. And we know at this point, it's like when I see people our age, like, talking about, like advocating for, like, the search your bedroom dare to, like, advocating for dare type programs. It's like, guys, we're the generation that, like, we won this battle. We got them to see that was useless, that doesn't help people, that it's a bad way to approach the problem. And you're going back to it. And that's what I fear. And I haven't seen anybody our age make that argument, but I'm worried that I'm going to at some point along the way. And I'm going to be like, no, we knew better. Like firsthand, we knew it wasn't that. That's not what does it. So yeah, so I'm glad he pointed that out. And like, and you know, he does claim that there was a lot of this going on like 15 years ago at the same school. And maybe that's the case.
It was, I think. I mean, maybe not to the same degree with this specific instance, but also having gone to high school there and also having gone to high school during that same period. Um, yeah, there's a lot of crazy shit that people were doing and saying and being, and well, most of it didn't make its way into what would now be the Peterborough Facebook group, right? So a lot, most
that wasn't there. Yeah, right.
that didn't exist, you know. So most people didn't know about it unless their kids went home and talked about it to their parents, which they probably didn't, you know, unless they had to, or their parents were brought in because you know the kids were their kids or what have you. But it was, I mean, they're pretty. Not to get too specific, you know, but there definitely some pretty nasty shit that went on there. And this is 14 years ago when I graduated. So even prior to that, it was 2004 to 8. And, and again, nothing necessarily against the organization of the school either. I don't think you get some bad seeds and, unsurprisingly, they also tend to have a bit of influence, right? And like you'd said, Chris, maybe there's one kid who's got a really difficult situation at home or what have you, a lot going on, and maybe some other kids there that have similar situations, and maybe this freshman class is coming into high school at a really sort of awkward time, having come out of COVID and all that,
that was my first thought.
Where you're you're sort of transitioning into that as you go through the later grades of middle school. I mean, 7th and 8th grade for me were really fucking hard, and then going into freshman year, unfortunately, I kind of took the downward trajectory and things got worse. But I think even for kids that were, better suited to the socialization of going into high school, it was still really difficult, and so having been kind of robbed of 7th and 8th grade to whatever degree they were, or even just having it be so chaotic and uncertain, imagine transitioning into high school is it's intimidating, especially here. I think, for at least it's my bias, it's my own experience, but you have two large sort of semi-regional middle schools that converge into one, talking relatively, but large high school, and that's a lot to kind of swallow in 9th grade, especially in 8th grade, where you've finally started to get to a place where you feel, to some degree, like you're comfortable socially, and then you just get fucking thrown into the mix at ConVal, But so maybe they're all, kind of pooling together and trying to, make their way, and threatening fucking seniors in the bathroom with shotguns. I really don't know. It sounds pretty severe, but in any case, again, without being very specific, there was a lot of shit that happened back then too. Just kids didn't necessarily get caught as often.
Yeah, and I also do. You raised a point that I do want to be clear about, because a lot of what is being thrown around in some of these accusations or alluded to or implied or whatever is that the school is not doing enough, or they're letting this happen, things like that. For the record, and I have been a critic of the schools on other issues, so I'm not automatically going to rah wave the flag, but I'm going to give the school the benefit of the doubt on this one. I don't buy that. I'm sorry, those of you who say that. I'm not trying to throw shade at you personally, but until I see some kind of proof that that's true, that there was something that the school, that was actionable, that the school really should have done something about, that they did not, or something, God forbid, something happens that later turns out was preventable from the school, I'm not going to make that accusation. The school has no interest in sweeping that under the rug and letting that go, especially these days with records being what they are and accountability. Nobody wants to be liable for things down the road. In fact, that's probably one of the things that school administrators think about the most is liability and what they're liable for and when making these kinds of decisions. So I just don't believe that. I until I find out otherwise, I am going to believe that in all of these cases, the school is doing all that they can. And I certainly believe that there's only so much that the school can do.
I think the one thing I saw in there that somebody said was that the school is aware of these things happening, but not communicating it to parents or the community at large. And I'm not sure to what degree they're sort of able to communicate, at least not the specifics, right? Because we're talking
Yeah,
now; these are
it's
children.
A good point. Yeah,
it's a really fine line. You're absolutely right, because they can't just shoot out an email.
Right. And hey, by the way, just letting everybody know that today we did find, an airsoft gun, and the kid did, strike the teacher in the stomach, and another child was, had a shotgun held to his head in the upstairs bathroom today.
Yeah, those things maybe do warrant an email. I mean, they kind of do. I sort of agree that you probably should send out a notification. I mean, Christ,
of some kind. But I mean, it's at the same time too, like. I don't know. It's like you said, it's a thin line. What's helpful and what's not, right? And getting everybody hysteric, which they obviously weren't able to prevent anyway, isn't helpful. I would say, but people do have a right to know. It's tricky.
It's a tricky thing. So developing story, I guess. Maybe we'll find out more about this. Maybe we won't. Hopefully there's no further incidents, but we will, of course, continue to cover whatever we can here at Go Monadnock and on the GoMo Tonight podcast. Let me just wrap up this topic by saying to any youngsters who might be listening to this and thinking about taking up a addictive nicotine habit. Sorry. But just in general, being serious, I'm sure it does feel hopeless. These are kind of dark times. We're a nation, maybe a society, definitely a nation in a bit of decline from where we were. Your generation in particular, I'm not going to lie to you, is especially screwed. Like the kids younger than you are even going to have it better than you probably. Like you got bad luck. Like it's true. And I hear that. And it's a tough time. You got the hormones. You're maybe you don't think it, but you are sort of half insane all the time. And props to you for getting up and going to school and doing the thing while being half insane all the time. I'm glad, better you than me. But that doesn't mean that it's hopeless, and that doesn't mean that you can't beat the odds, and that doesn't mean that you shouldn't try, and that doesn't mean that you have to go drastic. Because if you just some of these things that seem like real big immediate emergencies, they're going to fizzle out if you just kind of hang on. And so try to avoid the worst of the decisions. And if you need an outlet, you need to blow off a little steam, I understand that. That's a very normal teenage thing to do. Just try not to do anything too bad. That's all we can say. And because I can't give you like a trite answer about like follow the path of stoicism, or some spiritual tradition or something like that, because like none of that is a sufficient answer, and certainly not to a kid. So there's nothing you can really say other than just, I don't know, hang on, try to keep living, try to keep everybody else living. Don't get expelled. Don't give up entirely. And frankly, if you're from this region, you're probably at least lower middle class, which puts you above like 40 or 50% of the people in the country. So try to take advantage. Do what you can. That's all any of us can do. This episode of GoMo Tonight is brought to you by Box's Tea for the construction worker in all of us. Some of us men like a good cup of tea, but insecurity and toxic masculinity are real. We are working to end the patriarchy, but until that day comes, how are we to deal with the inevitable insecurity of enjoying such an effete British-affiliated beverage? Box's Tea comes riding to the rescue like John Wayne and Gary Cooper in a warehouse. That's right. with tea bag tags in the shape of a hammer and a package covered in ultra masculine cardboard boxes stacked up on one another. Nobody's going to mess with you and your teacup. Maybe you don't give a damn what people think about your tea drinking habit, but that Lipton just doesn't have the gut punch you're looking for. Maybe you're an office worker, but you know you need to get in touch with the blue collar man inside of you. Maybe you've read one too many sayings from a yogi tea bag and you want to drive into a tree. Settle down. Take the keys out of the ignition. Box's tea won't give you any advice about the universe, just the aesthetic of cardboard, demolition, asbestos, and back injuries leading to painkiller addiction. And it's made with the finest, strongest, most muscular Irish Assam on God's green earth. Try telling Mikey from Southie he's a pansy for drinking Box's tea and see what happens to you. When the tea room at the plaza turns you away for your torn t-shirt, Carhartts, and work boots, look no further. Box's tea for the construction worker in all of us. And if you, like Box's tea, would like your product, service, function, event, or even just your own personality to be featured as a sponsor of this program, let me tell you, bang for your buck. There's nothing in this region that gets you more attentive ears and eyes than we do. You know, and we're going to cost like, I don't know, 2% of what it would cost you to run a little thing in the newspaper. So just try to think about that. Reach out to us, reach out to Sam, reach out to any of us. Honestly, we'll have our email addresses in the thing, but trust me, nobody's ever going to skip over these ads. They just don't want to miss it. So please reach out to us. Again, thank you Box's Tea for sponsoring this program. And we, again, as I always like to remind folks out there who might be teetering on the edge, people are booking the sponsorships here. Book us before your competitor does, because that may be a leg up that they get over you that you never compensate for. We don't want to take that chance. Now let's move on. We've got the paper has, we got big headline news in the paper this week.
So, you know, I feel like this is like a running thing. Every week there's something in the paper that truly makes me laugh out loud. Little article sometimes, often, but today, this is in the Tuesday paper, but this week it is the special supplement about, well, it's titled "The Wait is Over." And if you're wondering what we are now done waiting for, it's the bridge that opened 6 weeks ago. So I'm glad we have this official declaration. We are now done waiting. Those few of us who were just hanging on those last 6 weeks, just not ready to take that left turn and drive over that bridge.
Did they not see our Facebook Live video?
They must not have.
I mean, we reported it. We said that 6 weeks ago.
I mean, the picture that they have even includes some of our competitors taking films and videos and photos of the bridge opening. Wow. Whoever they may be.
Whoever they may be. Are you sure they're not just citizens, like civilians? Like,
maybe they're civilians.
I'm just trying to think of who else. Who
No, it was just a joke.
Oh, okay.
Just a small joke.
I mean, well, you know my streak that I have with him. I'm like, who are
they? I want their names.
Yeah, right.
So, there's a few articles commemorating the occasion. One talking about how the project should be totally done this summer. One talking about how Main Street businesses in Peterborough they don't think that they had trouble because of the bridge, but they're not sure because of COVID. But probably not the bridge. They come to the conclusion. So the bridge remains blameless and safe for us all.
Yeah, you know, I mean, and it is possible that I may not be sufficiently in touch with some of our like senior population, but during the time that the bridge was out, I never heard anybody in any circumstance be like, I was going to go to that thing in downtown Peterborough, but I am not fucking driving around that bridge. I'm not going. Screw that. Like, where are you going to go? Like, where are you going to drive an extra like 15 minutes to Jaffrey or something? Like, you're going to go to Keene? God forbid. like I mean that always was a strange theory to me. I mean I get it. Like the only people I really felt bad for, well, no, I don't really feel bad for anybody, because it's like I feel like the only people who might have been most negatively impacted by it would be like people in like the Roy's area, like right there, like
Yeah,
right
yeah, yeah.
next to the bridge, because it's always a construction zone.
About the
But I
bank.
used to live down there, man, and they were always hopping. Like they like Roy's didn't suffer from the bridge.
Mm.
There was those parking spaces were always full every day, all day long, just like, and they still are.
I don't know if they did the bank any favors.
The bank, you're right. The bank probably didn't.
The bank got kind of fucked on this whole thing. Unsurprisingly, they put the building up for sale too. I'm kidding by that. It's probably not correlated at all. But trying to get into the bank, I mean, you're like, where the fuck do I go? And they're like, oh,
Yeah.
the big sign says like, park around the back, walk in through the back door, ring the bell twice, come in, say hello, and then walk around and come through the store. And you're like, well, fucking A, do I really want to go to? I mean, nobody wants to go to the bank.
That is something I would cancel doing. Yeah, I'd be like,
Right.
man, I'm not going to the bank.
I will not go to the bank for like any reason.
For less than that.
Right.
Yeah, for less than that.
I don't want to go to
much
the bank
less than that
anyway, and I'm probably not going to. But now I'm really not. And I mean, I've even thought. I mean, it's my fucking bank. I bank there, and I'm even like, I might go to Milford.
I mean, I thought that the parking and the access to that place was weird and bad before.
It was.
The bridge like blocked them off. Like they never had a very good like frontage parking door like setup. It was not ideal.
No, it's always been tough.
Yeah. I don't go to that bank, so I don't know.
Yeah, me either. So they might have been
tried to walk in
like
there
the sole victim, but like I just don't know of any other business where people are like, yeah, I've been avoiding it because of the bridge.
Yeah. But then we've got like this nice, I don't know, collector's issue, like a commemorative timeline. There's like a picture here of the voters approving the funding. It's got a timeline all the way back from 1755 when the first bridge was built there. And then like pictures of the pile driver that fell over, pictures of the construction sign, and then a reprint of that cover photo with the bridge opening.
Wait,
hold on.
They put the same photo in twice?
They did. Look, here we go. We got a big one, and then we got a little one to fit your choice of frame, I guess. Like, you want to save it.
And I just want to say to our listeners out there, probably not directly to anyone at the Ledger, but to our listeners, that I do. There are, like, believe it or not, in my head, I have room for this, right? There are times when I'm like, shit, like, are we piling on the Ledger too much? Like, are we jumping? Like, I have those, like, I do have a conscience. I have pangs of it. Wow. And then sometimes I'm like, man, are we riding them too hard? And then they post a fucking bridge supplement 6 weeks after the bridge comes out with duplicate photos, like no new information. Like, what?
I mean, when I talk about those other articles, like the car fire, like I'm like, they're silly, but I am genuinely delighted that someone wrote about them. Like there's like it's hilarious, but it also charms me. But like this, I was like dying laughing, and not because I was charmed.
Yeah, no, totally. Like some like the New Ipswich car fire and the like the police log stuff. I mean, I grew up in a small town. I like that's normal. That's not their fault. That's just being in a small town. That's cool. But this isn't. You can't blame this on that. And I know there's nothing going on. We've been talking about how there's nothing going on, but like, you still can't blame this on that. I guess what I'm saying to the viewers is that the listeners, this is not me. It is not. There comes a point where it isn't my fault that we're ragging on the Ledger transcript. I don't mean to victim blame, but like I'm going to victim blame in this situation. This is absolutely the victim's fault. Don't do things like if you don't want me to be mean, God, just don't open those doors. Don't leave that open.
But we did get a new quote.
I will walk through it.
You will walk over that bridge.
Yeah, I will watch
Dork
it.
over the
Yeah, absolutely.
We did get a new Seth quote in this supplement, though, if you want
No
that.
shit. What's the Seth quote? Read that. Sorry, Seth. He hates when we mention his name. He
I
doesn't
didn't
listen.
say his
He'll never
last
hear
name.
this. He doesn't listen to our show on purpose. But yeah, go ahead, read it.
The work continues on. The administrative work continues on. We continue to work closely.
God Almighty, he is the best, like, pull quote guy that works for our town. Honestly, he should be writing the press talking points for every other public official. Like, I know he has no oversight over the cops, for example, right? But if there was like a scandal with the cops, I hope that Chief Grenard is like, Seth, write me out my bullet points for the media. Like, how do we like what do we say? Because he knows. He's a sharp motherfucker.
I know. I always enjoy the Seth quotes.
And yeah, absolutely. Well, on that note, we are closing in on an hour. I think that I don't know if I would call this. I don't think this episode was grim, but we dealt with some weighty subjects here, and I want to close it out with the final stanzas of the former New Hampshire Youth Poet Laureate's poem that we began the episode with, and this is
Is
let
this
everyone
a real poem?
let everyone take the lesson from this, old and young. It goes down the same as the 1,000 before. No one's getting smarter. No one's learning the score. Your never-ending spree of death and violence and hate is going to tie your own rope. Tie your own rope. Tie your own rope. Hey. That's our show for this week. Thank you for joining us here at GoMo tonight. Shout out to Chad Patterson, our producer / sound lord, who has Studio 117 available for all of your recording, mixing, and overall audio needs. He's the guy who, and again, I can't emphasize this enough. I know it's alluring to look at our pretty faces and watch this on video, but if you are, again, a connoisseur, a bon vivant, if you're really looking for the finest things in life, if you know what a FLAC file is, check out the SoundCloud / podcast version, because he makes it so pretty. And we have awesome theme music that I just can't effing figure out with the setup that I have, how to add it into the YouTube video. Like, it's just not good. And I know that I shouldn't even admit that on the air, but I am. So we can't offer any of this. Chad puts it all together for us, makes these awesome audio. So please check that out. He does that. He's also got his own band. These guys, Down by 10, we'll put the link in the Facebook page. They do covers. They're available for your party, your bar mitzvah, your confirmation, since we're covering the religions, your
Baptism.
your Diwali. Yep.
Your yacht christening.
Your yacht christening. Oh my God. Oh, they've got the Kenny Loggins and the Steely Dan and the Seals and Crofts ready for that. So they're booking gigs, they're booking parties, everything else. We are scheming. We got some shit cooking under the scenes. Maybe we'll bring them local later in the year. We'll see, but check them out. They are there for you. I know a guy who was a friend of mine in those late teen difficult years, and he grew to be very successful in life and owns this gigantic mansion and hires a band every like Friday night and has his friends over in his giant pool house, which is like the size of my house. And I don't know who the band is that he's hiring, but I bet it's not as good as Down by 10. And if you want to get Down by 10 before I tell my buddy about Down by 10 and he starts offering them more than you can ever afford, give these guys a buzz. Call them up. That's our show, though. Join us next week. Sign up for our email our email list. We're going to have links in the show notes to writing workshops that we're going to be putting on. We didn't get a chance to talk about that this episode, but please check that stuff out. We're going to be pumping that heavy. If you're interested in writing, and I want to be clear, we got someone who is a real pro, even more professional at the workshop game than any of the three of us. Brian Evans Jones is going to be heading up these workshops. So this is a real great opportunity. This guy's got quite the pedigree. Let's not miss that. So a lot of exciting things coming up. Couple weeks we'll have a open mic again at the library, second Thursday of every month, 5:30 p.m. This is a big year for all of us, and this is just what we already have going. So please come along with us. Please participate as you are able. We love hearing from everybody. Until we meet again, until you rejoin us in the plush, smooth seats with the warm exotica tunes of our space lounge, always remember, to the best of your ability, take good advice. We'll see you next time.